Hello traders, welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 274. February is here, NFP is out of the way, so let's just jump straight into the market and see what is ahead of us. Of course, before we get into the technicals, let's first have a look at the economic calendar. So we had NFP last Friday, and we're starting Monday with just a speech from the ECB's president. No US news, nothing much, so I wouldn't expect Monday to be pretty big. Then on Tuesday, we have Mr. Powell speaking, testifying, which is pretty important. But apart from that, nothing too much. We have a Bank of England speech. And then Wednesday is going to be the big highlight of this week. We are having CPI. And CPI tends to be extremely volatile nowadays. So I'm definitely going to be waiting for that news release to be out. That could make potentially Tuesday a little bit tricky. And then pretty much Thursday, we do have PPI unemployment claims. We have some GBP news as well. Definitely tradable. And then of course Friday retail sales also tradable. So pretty much on Tuesday we can start looking for trades. Wednesday definitely wait for CPI, and then of course see what's going to happen afterwards. And then Thursday and Friday definitely green days to be trading. So with that being said, let's have a look at the market. Before we get started, make sure to join my free school community. It's an absolutely incredible, positive community with a lot of value from everybody. And the classroom here is a full course that I've never shared anywhere. So make sure to join. It's the first link in the description. All right, so we're going to get started with the DXY, even from the monthly time frame, but also being February right now, the start of the month. And I also missed a weekly outlook last week. Gonna check out a little bit more in depth to catch up onto things, but I just want to show you our private coaching program here. We had two traders getting funded. We have Keith passing a full challenge in the 5%ers. Then we have Mandeep also getting fully funded. And then we also have here Hamza recently also getting his funded account. And this week and last week was absolutely amazing. If we have a look at our executed trades, there's so many take profits right here. I'm not gonna go through them, but especially on gold and the major pairs, community is absolutely killing it. There's Mandeep actually nailing a very massive 5-hour trade on gold. So we're gonna try to break this down a little bit. So let's start with the DXY. Now, last month was a pretty indecisive month. January is usually like this. So currently, again, looking at the positioning of the overall dollar, we're kind of taking this liquidity here. And usually what the market does after taking liquidity, it looks to rebalance something. Now, on the monthly time frame, the only kind of area to rebalance is this monthly bullish imbalance that also aligns with this monthly order block to the left. So are we going to pull back all the way down here for 270 pips? Well, this is where we have to consider also the weekly time frame. And the weekly time frame was a bit tricky because here we also had a weekly imbalance that the market beautifully pulled back into. It gave us a bullish week here on the final week of January. But then if you also carefully look at it, there was a very extremely small weekly bearish imbalance right here that the market pulled back into, massively rejected, and then pretty much this week closed a little bit crazy. So we had NFP as well. It actually opened with a massive gap, then filled the gap, then went bullish, then went back bearish. It's quite crazy. So currently, I would say I am a little bit more bearish simply because the market is kind of making this lower high and it's failing to really still impulse from that weekly bullish imbalance. So if I start seeing the bearishness start to kick in, I would definitely first target this low, okay, and then pretty much below this low, there is nothing to stop price all the way into that monthly imbalance. So I'm not really calling from now on this monthly imbalance. I would definitely love to see a little bit more of a bearish order flow on the daily time frame and on the volatile time frame, because currently, if you look on the daily, it is a little bit crazy, right? We had like Monday open with some crazy gaps. Right now, the candles have changed a little bit. Before that, it was a very nasty consolidation. And what we did actually this week is we formed this daily bearish imbalance that was really nice, looking for shorts. But what I also dislike a little bit about it is that Thursday came in, reacted, and right now Friday is coming back in. And if you look at the overall kind of candle anatomy, it is currently sweeping that previous candle high. So I wouldn't say we're fully breaking that imbalance yet. So the key thing right now to monitor for the DXY is whether the market will turn bearish from that daily bearish imbalance. And then, of course, that is going to mean this low and then potentially this low are going to be my targets. Now, we have CPI on Wednesday, so until then, we definitely have to wait a little bit for the market to develop. But I am currently currently at this point in time. But again, I had like a comment in my recent weekly outlooks. You are just giving scenarios. You should be more convicted in your analysis. Bro, I am bullish today. I'm bearish tomorrow, right? I'm day trading. I'm just flowing with the market. I don't care. I don't need to be convicted in my analysis, because tomorrow I'm going to wake up. I'm going to have a look at the market. I'm going to be bearish. The next day I'm going to be bullish. It always changes. This is why it's important to always think about scenarios, plan the scenarios, and then when you see what the market is actually telling you, then you enter. Okay? So recently you can see, for example, here we were a little bit stuck. We printed bullish, we printed bearish, then we came into that daily imbalance. And right now we're coming into that imbalance with a little bit of a bullish manner. We're having that hourly bullish imbalance here. So again, I have to give you scenarios right now. Okay. If the market right now pulls back into this hourly bearish, reacts and fails, I'm going to be looking for the shorts. If the market pulls back into this one and potentially holds and starts building bullish order flow and starts closing above this high here, then I'm going to be looking for longs, right? And starting to target, for example, levels like this to the left. Okay, so those are again my two situations. I never will say, ooh, I'm super bullish, I'm super bearish, because this is not what trading is about. Trading is about flowing with the market, not really marrying any setups, marrying any biases, just looking at the market, seeing what's holding, seeing what's failing, and then of course acting appropriately. So this is my outlook on the DXY. I would say I'm inclining a little bit more bearish, right? But of course, Powell is going to speak on Tuesday. We're going to have Wednesday CPI. So until then, a lot could change. But for now, this is how I'm going to look at it. So let's see how the other pairs are looking like and whether they're going to give us a bit more context on the dollar. EURUSD looks pretty bearish so far. Again, on the monthly time frame, we're having that monthly bearish imbalance, but that is a breakaway gap right now. The market doesn't really want to pull back into it. This month already opened and we're already pushing lower. The very recent liquidity target will be the previous monthly low. Dropping onto the weekly time frame. So what is very interesting on EU and why I was taking longs this week on GU is because GU had the bullish imbalance here on the weekly, as we're going to see in a bit. EU did not. EU invalidated it, which to me immediately was a bearish sign. And right now, looking at this weekly candle here, to me it makes perfect sense for the market to actually go bearish, to take out this low, which right now what it tells me is that the DXY could potentially start going bullish. This is why, again, guys, scenarios. Don't marry bias. Don't say, ooh, I'm bullish. The market is going to go bullish. You never know where the market's going to go. So again, just listen to it, flow with it. Your trading is going to be a lot more enjoyable as well. Now, it's kind of actually tricky because is this weekly candle really looking like this? We had a massive gap down. This was crazy. This here was a bullish candle. Was it? Yeah, we had a crazy gap down. This makes price action really tricky. I hate these weekend gaps. So having a look at the daily time frame right now, what kind of made me a little bit more long bias here is this daily bullish imbalance, because we literally had this daily bearish and then the market failed it. And then I started targeting highs like this. But there was also a quality high like this where a lot of our members took profits. I called this one in the morning outlook. It was a beautiful trade. And then we pull back into that daily and we tried to look for longs, but Friday closed super bearish, actually breaking below the previous candle's low. So this right now gives me a lot more of a bearish sentiment on EURUSD. And then transferring that onto the hourly time frame, it also looks quite bearish. We're having this high. Then the market tries to make a higher low and try to push higher, but again, it fails to make a new higher high, and then it actually makes a lower low here, breaking below this structure, which was the reaction out of that daily imbalance. And then right now we're also printing this hourly bearish imbalance, suggesting that currently the momentum is bearish. And if you have a look to the left, literally the next target is going to be this one. So we have a lot of space to be trading towards that low. Right, and we're coming also from taking this liquidity. We were taking longs from here. We were also taking longs on Wednesday here towards that liquidity. Then we rejected. Then here NFP sending the market lower. So actually here I can be a little bit more convicted and say that this is definitely a beautiful setup that we can be looking forward to, because currently I don't really see the longs. That daily bullish imbalance is not holding right now. It's invalidated. The market already tapped, reacted, and then even broke the reaction, which to me means that the daily is failing. And then pretty much the next objective is going to be all the way down here. Or if you want the low hanging fruit, it's going to be first this one. So let's see, of course, how the DXY is also going to respond, because if the DXY goes super bearish, then of course EU can flip up anytime. But overall for now, I'm gonna say I'm more bearish on EU, which is gonna start shifting my sentiment towards more bullishness on the dollar. But you can see, for example, the dollar is a little bit weaker. It really cannot break above this daily imbalance, while EU already crashed it. Okay, so let's right now continue to have a look at the other pairs to build a fuller bias. GU on the monthly time frame, still consolidative. We are still stuck between the previous monthly high and low, so nothing much to take from here. Now, this is where GU was interesting, right? We took some amazing longs on GU this week. We had a weekly bullish imbalance. This to me is very important. It suggests that the market is making this V shape from the downside, and then of course we can start targeting highs like this. But then looking at how the weekly candle closed, it kind of took the liquidity above the previous weekly high, which is what we were targeting this week. And then we closed with a very big indecision. So are we bullish? Are we bearish? Well, then we refer to the daily time frame, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky with GU right now. Now, it was very nicely bullish. We took the longs. That's great. We popped higher. We took the liquidity here. And then the market, also similar to the rest of the pairs, like on EU, made that daily bullish imbalance. But then we can see this candle is already flipping that imbalance. I see a lot of people call these inverted fair value gaps. Sure, right? I've been looking into this. I don't trade this way. I have another more unique kind of looking imbalances. But definitely when you see a candle like this fully closing below an imbalance, definitely suggests we could be breaking it. And then you can see even the second day here on Friday also closed bearish, wick up, wick down. It's not giving me very clear indications here. I would even say it's more or less right now consolidating, right? If you just look at it objectively, is it really trending right now? No, it's like very small candles. It did a little bit of a trend and it's coming back into the range. It's not really trending. So I will definitely give this one a little bit more time. And then when we go to the hourly time frame, now we had beautiful longs, by the way, this week, right? So if you're more like a day trader, there it is. So you can see why the weekly outlook, for example, is not always valid, because on Friday so Monday opened like this. On Friday, I could have said, hey, I'm bearish, right? I'm looking for the market to go bearish. But then you can see the market on Monday immediately started printing these bullish imbalances. And then on the next day, we were bullish and everybody longed this long. And then everybody also took this long. And then a lot of us also took the long right here towards the liquidity, right? So it doesn't matter if I'm bearish today in the weekly outlook, because tomorrow I could shift bearish. This is why I really look into how I actually analyze the markets and how I look into them, because then you can actually do that and apply it on your own and truly learn how to flow with the markets. So we also had this bearish imbalance here. The market tapped into it, but didn't do much. Then it came in to take the liquidity and it actually tapped into the upper one here and reacted very strongly. No new hourly bearish imbalances are making. Honestly, guys, I would much prefer EU. Right, EU looks a lot weaker. It actually has a hourly imbalance. It's failing that daily. It has clear liquidity targets. GU is a little bit more stronger, I would say. Nothing on the 1 hourly time frame as well. So on GU, I would wait a little bit, because it also has that weekly bullish imbalance that gives that market a little bit more strength than, for example, on EU. But it's also failing that daily bullish imbalance. It's also like respecting right now the hourly bearish ones. But in order for me to short it, I would really need to see it continue lower for a little bit with a new imbalance, and then to potentially start targeting lows like this. So if you ask me between EU and GU, I would be focused on EU right now, and I'm gonna give GU a little bit more time. It looks like Aussie dollar might actually want to pull us back into that monthly bearish imbalance. So then dropping that on the weekly time frame, we opened again with a crazy gap down, taking the weekly liquidity, and then pretty much this whole week we were pulling back, we were bullish. Then dropping onto the daily time frame, yeah, we close right here the market. This is why, again, guys, a lot of times me doing this on Saturday, Monday opens, it's a gap, it's an immediate shift of sentiment. You really gotta be, the biggest skill you can learn is to flow, because you get this gap and then the liquidity is taken. So if I, for example, said in the weekly outlook here, all right, guys, we're responding from that daily bearish imbalance. I am bearish. I'm looking to target this low. Well, that low already got taken when the market opened. So we can't really capitalize on that setup right now on a Monday. And then, of course, what you see happening is we started printing the bullish order flow and beautiful bullish structure throughout the week. So currently on the daily time frame, I do like it just a little bit, because we have an extremely small yeah, when you can't even draw your imbalances, they're usually not good. But we're having daily bullish imbalance here that the market can potentially pull back into and find some support. But towards this high is what I call a no struggle area, which is nothing to stop the market. So Euro bearish, this one is giving me a little bit more bullish signs. The market has gotten really mixed up. Then dropping onto the hourly time frame, you can see right now the end of the week was a little bit choppy. We had this hourly bullish, the market respected it, it took out the liquidity, and then after we took out the liquidity, we started reversing. We didn't really follow through with new bullish imbalances, but we also didn't make new bearish ones. So this one is really 50-50. It also ended up taking the opposing side of the liquidity, so we took out the highs and then we went to take out the lows, and we're right now exactly in the middle. So this is not ready for a setup. I definitely see it potentially going into that monthly bearish imbalance, but I will definitely need to see first some more signs, like some 4-hourly bullish imbalances, or even if you want 1-hourly if you're more aggressive, or for the market to pull back into that daily imbalance and to start giving me the entry signals that it actually wants to go higher. Of course, hey, let's not exclude the bearish bias, because EU and GU are looking quite bearish, so also if this one pulls back into that daily, right, and invalidates it and starts printing bearishness, then also start looking on the bearish side. So that is AU, a little bit uncertain close right here, not giving us a lot of information about what we can expect on Monday. This is why, again, guys, you jump in on Monday, you flow with the markets, you wait for Monday to show you what it wants to do, and then pretty much you have 4 amazing days ahead of you. But this is how I currently look at it. Let's see how it goes. Let's have a quick look at NZUSD. We're also having that monthly bearish imbalance here. The market could be pulling back into it, but of course it's not 100% sure. We also took the liquidity with that gap down. We had a bullish week overall, very similar to the Aussie dollar. And here what is super interesting is that NZUSD is already tapping into that daily bullish imbalance that I told you about on AU. So what that tells us is that AU is a little bit stronger right now. So if NZUSD starts turning up from that daily bullish imbalance, then I would even expect Aussie dollar to potentially follow without pulling back into that its daily bullish imbalance. So very interesting. Dropping onto the hourly time frame again, we're tapping into that daily and we're not having a hourly bearish, which is pretty key. And you can already see the divergence, right? Look at that high. Aussie dollar took that high, NZD did not. So NZD is weaker. NZD tapped the daily imbalance, Aussie did not. So Aussie is stronger. It's still higher. Okay. So really important right now to wait and see what is going to happen from that daily imbalance. Because if the market right now is giving us a reaction and then it very strongly breaks the reaction with new 4-hourly bearish imbalances, then I would start getting a little bit more bearish. Okay. But if the market right now responds very nicely and starts printing bullish order flow, then I would be targeting this high here and then the monthly imbalance. Then after that monthly imbalance is tapped, then of course we again gotta wait and see, like, is it gonna go bearish, is it gonna continue going bullish? Then of course that is already for the next weekly outlook. So those are my 2 scenarios on NZUSD. I do see it's definitely weaker than the Aussie dollar. This daily imbalance is gonna be the key to wait and see, is it going to hold and push us higher to then trade into this, or is it gonna fail to then start looking for shorts and start targeting, for example, order lows like this? Let's see. I've been a gold skeptic for a very long time because it always seemed very fast for me, but since I started trading futures and since I actually saw the value within trading volatile pairs, I started trading gold. I took some amazing trades on gold this week. What a beauty. All right. So here what we're doing on the monthly time frame is we're still coming from that monthly bullish imbalance here. The market is really nicely following through. We're also trading above all-time highs. So this was of course the previous all-time high that's already taken. We closed above it last month, and then this month we're already starting to expand above it. So super bullish, but of course guys, a pullback should potentially be coming anytime soon. I should not use should because the market could continue to push higher, but of course you can see when we make highs, it's usually gonna give us some sort of a pullback at some time. Currently we have been expanding for 5 weeks. 5 straight bullish weeks without really a bearish weekly pullback. So again, keep that in the back of your mind that a pullback could be incoming, right? So don't be an eternal bullish buyer here. Weekly bullish imbalance here is kind of the only thing we have on the weekly. Are we gonna make a new weekly bullish imbalance here? So is the next candle gonna open and invalidate that line? We really gotta see that. Let's drop to the daily time frame. So the daily is looking pretty good, right? So my community absolutely smashed this Monday trade. They absolutely killed it. I was traveling back home. I went skiing in Italy, unfortunately, during the weekend. So I was traveling on Monday. God damn, I missed that trade. But then I called the other days. Beautiful daily. Then we followed through in a new daily. It tapped in again. And again, it followed through to still finish up with taking the liquidity. Now, this finish here is not very nice because we have definitely taken all the imbalances. So right now we're kind of left with nothing to say, okay, the market is still going to go up. And then we drop to the hourly time frame where it's also not amazing because we also had, for example, this hourly imbalance here that the market actually tapped in NFP and then went on to take out the liquidity. And then after that liquidity is taken, you can see Friday gave us with a pretty shitty price action here. Very massive up, very massive down, imbalance in, imbalance out. This is a perfect, what I call a V-shape. Okay, so V-shape reaction, printing a 1 hourly bearish, and then we ended up pretty much consolidating here for the end of the day. So currently in gold, unfortunately, I really can't say much, guys. We don't have any zones. This daily zone is filled, this hourly zone is filled. We don't have any bearish zones, we don't have any bullish zones. And usually when I perform my morning analysis, I always ask a very simple question. Can we do something? Do we have a zone? Do we have a bias? Okay, my bias is bullish. Okay, do I have a zone? No. And this is exactly where you stop, right? And we just gotta wait for new price action to settle, get our zones, and then of course we're gonna strike. And I really don't see how this could develop right now. It can come into sweep liquidity and then of course turn bullish. It can of course expand higher with new imbalances and then start looking for longs again. It could start consolidating because right now it's pretty high and maybe it might want to start pulling back. I would say right now, guys, on gold, last week was amazing. I definitely, if I did the weekly outlook last week with this beautiful daily imbalance that closed on Friday, definitely would have been long. Daily bullish, tapping into Monday, and then an expansion. But right now, we don't have any zones, not on the daily, not on the hourly time frame. So I would say wait. Wait for Monday to settle. Wait for Monday to show you, to give you some direction, and then let's flow with it on Tuesday and Wednesday. But keep in mind, with the CPI and with Powell speaking, it could shake the market a little bit. So you might have to be a bit more patient with gold this week to wait for it to settle, and then of course catch your 1 or 2 high probability trades during the week. So sorry, gold lovers, but currently I don't have really a good outlook on gold because we don't have any zones and I don't know what to expect. And guess what? That is perfectly fine. All right, switching to the JPYs. USD JPY was very choppy for a while, but right now it looks like it's picking up some steam. The very recent monthly liquidity I see is this monthly swing low. Dropping onto the weekly time frame, this one was pretty tricky. And this is where I gave my guys in the webinar a very good lesson this week. This is why potentially like I stopped using the PD ranges. This is like the 50% ranges here. Because usually when the market is volatile, it's and very nicely trending, it's not going to be pulling back very deep, because by the time it actually, for example, here, if you have a look at this, by the time it pulls back into this golden pocket, it's already super bearish. And then you really have to wait for the market to change and really show you that it's starting to go bullish in order to confirm that. But if it was bullish from this weekly imbalance, tap in, it should have gone higher. But then it actually tapped into this one and started consolidating for an eternity. And then we also right now are coming into this lower imbalance that I really wouldn't use that imbalance as an entry zone to potentially start looking for longs. You can see I haven't touched USD JPY for pretty much for a very long time. How many days I haven't looked at it? Yeah, around 18 days, 12 days, actually 12 trading days. And this week on Wednesday, we finally broke out and we also made a very big daily breakaway gap. Tapping us into that weekly. So currently we're having a little bit of a sandwich. We're tapping a weekly to the left and we're making a daily here, the very recent one. Friday was indecision. It's a little bit low. I would definitely love to see a setup like this, right? This is going to be really nice. But then if we drop to the hourly time frame to ask, okay, is there something to stop the market and push it lower? Well, this is kind of the setup that I called in my morning analysis here. For Friday, pulling back into these forward imbalances, but again, it was NFP, so we do not trade before NFP because of this, right? The market taps into your forward time frame, it actually potentially gives you the trend change, and you enter right here, and then you get absolutely annihilated. So don't trade before NFP, but then you can still see the bias actually ended up following through. So I am bearish on USD JPY, but the liquidity has already been taken here out of that hourly zone. If it doesn't make new hourly zones, right, then I would potentially expect for it to pull back into that daily. And then from the daily, again, look for my imbalances and order flow and trend changes going lower to potentially continue lower. So this is my USD JPY outlook. I am a little bit more bearish, which doesn't make sense because we said that EURUSD and everything is bearish, which means that DXY should go bullish, which then means USD JPY could also go bullish, right? But again, we really gotta wait for Tuesday Powell testimony. We really have to wait for Wednesday CPI and also Powell speaking again. For now, I would say I'm definitely more bearish on USD JPY, simply because of that very recent bearish order flow, these daily bearish imbalances, the quality time frame getting extremely bearish. So I will be looking for shorts, but currently the positioning of price is pretty bad. We're taking a lot of liquidity. We're tapping into weekly bullish. We haven't really pulled back into the daily yet. So if we do get the daily pullback towards this zone, then I'm going to be interested for potential shorts. So let's see how it plays out. Euro yen is next. We're taking the liquidity here. So similar liquidity that I indicated on USD JPY. Here it's already taken. And then pretty much the next one is going to be here. Dropping onto the weekly time frame. Here again, we opened up with a massive gap, filled the gap, and then pretty much continued going lower towards the liquidity. Yeah, so there is the gap. Is it like this? I thought this was a bullish candle here. Strange, right now it's bearish. Yeah, because if it's bearish, then this one is bullish. Man, this charts, this is why I don't like Forex, because it's all unregulated and every broker kind of shows different charts. But nevertheless, we had that pullback and then we have been really nicely selling off here with also daily bearish imbalances. Two daily breakaway gaps. And right now that we're taking the liquidity, I would definitely love to see some sort of a daily pullback, similar to what I told you in USD JPY. However, you actually have a first barrier here. You have a beautiful hourly bearish imbalance together with, of course, with your order block here to the left. So, guys, I'm definitely bearish on this one. This is a market that you could potentially have conviction in because it's going super bearish, right? Pull back into the hourly time frame here. Look for a short, low-hanging fruit this low. Ah, come on, man. If this 4-hourly zone fails, then what is that gonna mean is that the market wants to go to the daily. Then go to the daily, again, look for your entry model, and then go shorts once again towards the liquidity. So I'm gonna keep, during this weekly outlook, I'm definitely gonna keep a bearish bias on Euro yen. Although, again, guys, never marry a setup. This one can take liquidity right now. Like this, right? It looks extremely bearish, then all of a sudden it starts taking a turn, okay? So flow with the market. Let's see how it goes. For now, definitely bearish. Looks pretty cool. We have a liquidity objective here, but also make sure to monitor USD JPY and also ensure that USD JPY also goes bearish, because then Euro yen will potentially also go very nicely. GJ has been super ugly on the monthly time frame. Like, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months doing nothing. Right now it's starting to give us a little bit of a bearish indication, but yeah, on the weekly time frame we had a beautiful weekly imbalance here that actually got respected, and right now we're taking the liquidity of the weekly, and we're also taking an older liquidity level. So a lot of liquidity has been taken. You should be aware of that, because when such liquidity is taken, the market tends to make a pullback. However, we also have beautiful zones to be making that pullback into. We're having two beautiful daily bearish imbalances. We can potentially look for a pullback here and then look for the shorts. And then very similar to Euro yen, they're pretty much moving the same manner. We're having that hourly bearish imbalance together with the order block to the left. So again, guys, similar to EJ, not gonna repeat myself, pull back into 4H, target low hanging fruit. If the hourly time frame kind of reacts, but then it ends up breaking, target the daily, and then look for your setups again to continue going lower. That is my bearish bias on the JPYs. They in fact look pretty good, but we've taken a lot of liquidity. And what happens after we take liquidity? The market ends up usually pulling back, okay? And it can pull back anywhere. So again, let's see if we can track. This is a setup that looks good to be taken on Monday, for example, for a very quick pullback and a very quick low of week trade. And then the market could potentially start even from here, pulling back into the daily. So let's see how it plays out. Two setups here, bearish bias on the JPYs. Let's see. All right, here we go to the futures part, starting with ES. Profitable week for me, but it was very tough. Started with a break even, then I took a loss, then I missed a beautiful trade just by 3 minutes being late to the chart. And then I finished on Friday with an amazing win that brought everything back, so finishing profitable. But on the monthly time frame here, we're starting to get chopped up a little bit. Is it due for a pullback? Is it not? There is nothing to work on the monthly time frame right now, which is not amazing. I still remember here when we had that monthly bullish imbalance, how beautiful it was to trade. Right now, we don't have anything. And then we drop to the weekly time frame, and you can start seeing it's getting a little bit into a consolidation at the top here, right? It tried to make all-time highs, it failed, it's pulling back into the range, so it's starting to get a bit uncertain, right? There is kind of uncertainty, but I still see the overall sentiment is pretty bullish. But looking usually at the top when you get a consolidation like this, of course, a lot of times it can continue pushing lower and take some liquidity and then reverse, but a lot of times it could prepare also for an expansion. So currently, again, guys, for the futures, we're sitting very high. A lot of things could happen. A lot of news are coming out. Trump is doing his magic with the tariffs, announcing them in, then pulling them back, then announcing them again. It's gotten a little bit crazy, honestly, right? Especially on the lower time frames. Weekly time frame doesn't tell me much. Bearish candle, but sweeping the previous candle low. Daily time frame dropping onto the daily. This is where it's starting to look like it's been super tough. It's been super tough to determine macro bias on the indices. This is why, again, scalping will, I don't want to say always, right, is always gonna work, because if you just jump again in the charts without a bias and then just monitor the 15-minute and where it's guiding you, and you have a very good understanding of liquidity and imbalances, you can always take a trade. That's pretty much how I trade right now indices. But it's always amazing when you also have a bias. We had an extremely choppy week last week here. You can see the market didn't do anything. Gap down, pulls, no imbalances, no nothing on the daily. So, damn, it's getting a little bit tricky. We're having some very big swings, like massive swing low, then we recover, then a massive swing low, then we recover. And if we follow that pattern, right, what is next? A massive swing low. Let's see. I really do like how the market ended the week on the hourly time frame. I participated in this beautiful short, by the way, here. Hourly bearish imbalance. You can see to the left here, we had that hourly bullish, which got tapped and did its job. So currently, based on that very recent hourly order flow, I can start calling these lows here. The lows around 60.20 on the ES. However, this is the very first bearish imbalance. This is not order flow being established yet. When does order flow get established? When you have a push and then you have a higher high. So high, higher low, higher high. This confirms the trend. What we're having right now is just a push. So we need to have a lower high and then a lower low to confirm that when a new imbalance. Then I would say I'm definitely starting to become a little bit more bearish. Okay, so let's see. This is honestly the only thing that I have right now on the chart. Nothing on the daily, nothing on the weekly, nothing on the monthly. The 40 time frame is giving me that bearish imbalance. It is a no struggle area towards this low, which means there is nothing yet to stop. The market has tapped everything. The imbalance here has been tapped. The order block here has been tapped. So if we pull back into this hourly zone and it gets some very nice shorts, that will be a very good opportunity. So let's see. I am a little bit more bearish right now on the indices, but Powell could come in and say something on Tuesday and we might start making new all-time highs. So I'm going to be very quick to be changing my bias because we have this very nice trend line right here that can get very nicely collected. Let's see how the others are looking like to help us build a bigger bias on the indices. Similar to ES, the monthly time frame here in Nasdaq has also been a little bit of a mess. You can see we're still an inside bar of the previous monthly candle, not telling us much. And then we go to the weekly time frame, and here did we make equal highs? Yeah, I think so. Oh no, we literally swept it here by probably a point or something, and then we rejected. But you can even see, guys, on the weekly, like the very last weekly imbalance we had was here, and this didn't even follow through. And then since how many weeks is that? 6 weeks. We have been extreme. I personally, because I don't teach my community yet on how I trade futures, but I have been pretty profitable during this chop. So I really can't wait for the market to start moving once again properly on the hard time frames, because then we go to the daily time frame, and I'm honestly getting dizzy. When I just look at this, I'm like, ooh, right? We had a daily bearish imbalance here, push down. There's a very small daily here. It's just not nice. I don't like it. We ended up sweeping here. Oh, this was actually, we swept this one on Friday, and then it gave us that NFP bearish candle. So is this one gonna go? You can see currently what is happening is we're squeezing, right? You can see from the bottom here, we're making higher lows, And then from the top here, we're making lower highs, right? So what is this? It's kind of a squeezing price action, making this kind of triangle here, right? You can see lower highs, lower highs, lower high, lower high, but then higher low, higher low, higher low from the bottom. So where is it gonna expand to? Okay, this is why, again, guys, you should not always have a bias. You should not always have conviction in your analysis, because sometimes the market is just not telling you anything, and then it needs to have a shakeout in order for them to realize where it's actually going. But looking at the lower time frames, for example, similar to ES, we're having that hourly bearish imbalance. Everything to the left is taken. No, I was wrong. This one actually on Nasdaq did not get tapped. This is why I chose to short ES on Friday, because ES already had taken everything while Nasdaq still had this area to react from. We're tapping into it. So pretty much I'm going to give you a very short-term outlook. If this forward imbalance gets respected, I will be looking to short into that low. And then what happens after this? Gotta wait for Powell to speak and gotta wait for CPI, because currently we are a little bit very uncertain. You can see it how it's starting to squeeze, right? It's really starting to squeeze. So I think something is incoming, which is what is going to be the catalyst for a very big move. We are about to see, guys, with Trump right now and with everything that is happening, we're going to be having moves. We just got to wait for them. And then as they start occurring, as they start giving us the good buys, then we're going to participate, and then we're going to make the majority of the money. So let's be patient. But in the meantime, track these quick scalps on the hourly, and 15-minute time frame. This week, YM messed me up 2 times, which made me learn a little bit of a lesson. I got one break even because I was long, but then YM was short. And then I got a stop loss because Nasdaq and ES were kind of looking long. So I called longs, but then YM was also short, and it pulled them both down. Monthly time frame, nothing much, right? You can see the monthly candle is a very big indecision right now. On the weekly time frame, what is interesting here is that we do not have anything on the weekly time frame on the other 2 indices. Here we have 2 bullish imbalances, but the market is also responding right now from this weekly bearish one. So it's a little bit in a sandwich situation where it's like, okay, what is gonna hold? I usually always, that doesn't sound good. I always listen to the most recent imbalances. Okay, so if the most recent are bullish, this means that the very recent momentum that has been in the market has been bullish. So I would say I'm more bullish bias right now, looking, for example, to target that high. We're tapping into that weekly imbalance, but we actually tapped in on the open. We gapped down, we tapped it, and we tried to push, but we failed to take the liquidity, which right now, again, what it means to me is that this weekly imbalance, it's not doing its job to take out the high. And then this usually gives you a very good bias to be targeting its low. And looking at how, for example, Thursday and Friday closed, and looking at how potentially if Monday closes and it forms a daily bearish imbalance, all right, that could start looking like very good shorts. And then we drop to the forward time frame, and look at this. Here, guys, you have an established order flow. This is what I call established bearishness, exactly as I told you on ES. Push, pull back, push, right? That is a trend change. We had a push, we had a pullback, we respected that forward bearish imbalance, and then what we did on Friday is we created a brand new one. All right, we're taking some liquidity already here, so there is the last liquidity that is collected, and then of course you can find the next one, and then after the next one, it's pretty much towards this one. So I think, looking at all the indices, I am just bearish bias right now. I'm just bearish bias. I'm not seeing the longs. I'm really seeing the market failing to take out the highs, right? So Nasdaq did not taking out, Nasdaq did sweep a little bit of liquidity, right? But immediately reverse. ES also making lower highs, printing bearish, and also YM already having established the bearish order flow. So all I can say is that the US indices are looking bearish. So I will be looking for shorts starting this week, especially from that forward bearish imbalance, targeting that liquidity, and then pretty much I'm going to be waiting for Wednesday's CPI to then dictate what is going to happen within the second half of the week. So bearish bias on YM, again, pull back into that forward imbalance, then looking for lower time frame entry models during New York Stock Exchange, and let's see if we get some shorts or we fully reverse. I think a lot of people are making a lot of money on DAX right now. It's been extremely bullish. It's not giving any pullbacks. So I personally don't really trade DAX like I trade the US futures. But for example, we were extremely extended. We had a little bit of a pullback right here, massive push. And then we had the gap down that kind of got us very close to that weekly imbalance, but didn't really make it. And then we just still continued to pop higher. what do we have right now is we were making a daily imbalance almost every single day without the market pulling back. And if you also observe the 4-hourly time frame, it's also not pulling back a lot, right? Just push and push and push and push and push, straight line, push and push here, straight line, no pullbacks, right? So if you probably tackle it like I do with the US futures, probably that one could make you a lot of money. Right now we're pulling back again, and you can see DAX, for example, took all-time highs. The US indices did not. So they're really hesitant to make new all-time highs, which is very interesting. Why? 4-hourly bearish imbalances here in DAX as well, but they're about to tap us into 2 daily bullish. So this one is going to be a very big sandwich here. Let's see how it taps into this daily, and let's see what it does. Because I'm not short biased on this one, definitely, because it's been pushing up like crazy. But I'm also not long biased yet, because looking at the US indices, they're very likely also going to drag DAX a little bit down. And I really want to see these daily imbalances tap, and then of course start seeing the bullish order flow start to kick in before I start taking any longs. But I personally usually check out this every morning in my morning analysis. The only thing we saw with the team was that 1-hourly imbalances, and we had very little 1-hourly pullbacks. All right, if you're looking for 4-hourly pullbacks and daily pullbacks, forget about it. It's just pushing up like crazy. Right now, again, we're getting another pullback. So here we got, for example, a 2% pullback. Here we got a little bit of a bigger 3% pullback. So usually, again, you can expect around 2 or 1.5 in this case, because the daily imbalances are pretty close. Let's see. I'm just bullish bias on DAX. We don't have the setup yet. We're having the daily imbalances. Let's see how they get tapped, and let's see what kind of reaction we're going to get, and if we're going to be able to get into any longs. All right, so full circle back. I was a little bit indecisive at first when I started the DXY, right? I gave you 2 potential outlooks because we're tapping into that daily bearish imbalance. That could send us lower, but at the same time, we're already making confirmed 4-hourly bullish structure. And then I said, okay, let's have a look at the rest of the pairs. EU is looking very nicely short. It's already failing that daily bullish imbalance, printing 4-hourly bearish one, looking very nice for shorts. So that potentially means DXY longs. EU shorts. GU is not as good as EU. You can see EU is perfectly setting up with that 4-hourly bearish imbalance, 2 liquidity targets. GU doesn't really make a new 4-hourly bearish. It's still coming from that weekly bullish. It's not as weak as EU is. So I would prefer EU. Aussie dollar and NZD dollar also closed a little bit 50-50. They have a monthly imbalance on top of them, but they closed in a very choppy manner. So I would personally wait a little bit more for those. NZUSD already pulled back into its daily bullish imbalance, while Aussie dollar still hasn't. It's down there. So if this one starts picking up higher, I would prefer to long Aussie dollar because it's stronger. But if NZUSD goes short, and for example Aussie dollar goes short, I would short NZUSD because it's weaker. Okay. Gold unfortunately provided us amazing setups this week, but right now it's not leaving us with any zones. No daily zones, no 4-hourly zones that we can work with. So the key for gold right now is to wait for Monday, maybe even wait for Tuesday, wait for zones to form, see what direction the market's gonna pick, and then potentially look to trade it. The USD JPYs, the JPYs, are looking pretty bearish. USD JPY has already tapped into that 4-hourly imbalance, already took the liquidity. So the question is it gonna continue rocking lower? Or is it first going to pull back into the daily bearish imbalance? But then looking at EJ and GJ, they both have new, fresh 4-hourly bearish imbalances that are looking quite good. So a quick short setup from these 4-hourly bearish imbalances could be very good. But if that fails, we can then look for the daily ones that are on top. Indices, the only thing that indices are giving me is a very nice bearish context, very nice bearish bias on the 4-hourly time frame, but like daily and weekly they're a little bit choppy. We have entered into a little bit of a squeeze right here, making higher lows and lower highs on both sides, which is not amazing. The cleanest index is YM US 30, which is already having established 4-hourly order flow. So I'm looking for shorts. I'm looking for shorts on all the indices. DAX made all-time highs. It's starting to pull back. Is it gonna hold? We are gonna see. So a very interesting week ahead of us. My focus will be potentially EURUSD shorts starting the week because it's looking the cleanest. Potentially indices shorts here as well. You can even look at the JPYs because they're also looking a little bit short. It doesn't make a lot of sense, USD JPY short and then EURUSD short and stuff like this. But currently the correlation is a little bit off, because money is flowing like everywhere, safe havens and stuff like this. So correlation is a little bit off definitely. So that is for the weekly outlook. Let me know how you performed this week. Let me know what is your favorite setup looking forward for next week. I wish you a profitable one and talk to you on the next outlook.